My girlfriend said I like you, but I am not in love with you, so I started treating her exactly like the roommate she wanted to be. The panic in her eyes when the flowers stopped coming was satisfying. Okay, so this happened 3 weeks ago and I am still processing it, but I need to get this out because it has been eating at me. And honestly, I am starting to think I might be a petty genius. My girlfriend Qley and I have been together for 3 years, living together for 2. She is 28, I am 30. I thought we were solid, like ring shopping soon, solid. I am a software engineer here in Denver. She is in marketing. We split a nice apartment, and I have been, well, let me just say I have been the flowers every Friday. Surprise weekend trips, pay for 80% of everything because I make more kind of boyfriend. You know, the guy who actually tries 3 weeks ago, on a completely normal Tuesday night. Qley sits me down with this serious expression. My stomach immediately drops because that look never means anything good, right? I am thinking she is pregnant, or her job is relocating her, or, I don't know, something we can work through. Instead, she looks me dead in the eye and says, quote, I like you, but I am not in love with you, end quote. I just sat there, like my brain literally blue screened for a solid 10 seconds. Finally, I asked, do you want to break up? And here is where it gets really good. She actually smiles and says, quote, no, I love our life together. We are such a great team, and I don't want to lose what we have, end quote. I am still trying to wrap my head around this logic. You guys, she's basically telling me I am a really great roommate who also provides boyfriend services, and she wants to keep that arrangement going. The audacity was honestly impressive. But here is the thing, in that moment, something just clicked for me. This wave of clarity washed over me, and I thought to myself, if I am just a roommate to her, then I will be exactly that. I will be honest though, the first few days were hell. I kept wanting to go back to our old routine, kept catching myself about to kiss her goodbye, or ask about her day. My muscle memory was still in boyfriend mode, you know, but every time I started to slip back, I would remember those words, I am not in love with you, so I nodded, said okay, and went to bed. She seemed relieved that I wasn't making a big deal about it. Poor Qley had no idea what she had just unleashed. The next morning, I didn't give her the usual kiss goodbye. No, have a great day, babe. Just see you later, like I would say to any roommate. She looked a little confused but didn't say anything. That first week was rough. I would start to do something sweet, then catch myself. Like Thursday, I almost bought her favorite coffee on my way home from work. Literally had it in my hand before I realized what I was doing and put it back. That Friday flower day came and went. No flowers Saturday. I made breakfast for one. When she asked about it, I said, oh, I figured you would want to handle your own breakfast since we are roommates now. You guys. The look on her face, like she was trying to solve a puzzle she didn't know existed. Over the next week, I moved all my toiletries to the guest bathroom, set up a little office/man cave in the spare bedroom, got a mini fridge, a good reading chair, the works, started treating our shared spaces like, well, shared spaces. I clean up after myself. I am polite. I even helped her move some furniture. Perfect roommate behavior. But no more surprise dinners. No more back rubs while she watches her shows. No more how was your day. Conversations that go deeper than surface level. When she tried to curl up next to me on the couch, I casually moved to the chair. When she suggested our usual Thai place for dinner, I said sounds good, and sent her my half through Venmo afterward. It has been 3 weeks now, and I can see her starting to panic. She keeps trying these little things, cooking my favorite meal, wearing that dress I complimented once, asking if I want to watch our show together. Each time, I am perfectly pleasant, but maintain those roommate boundaries. Thanks for dinner. I will get you back next time. That is a nice dress. Sure, I will watch with you, and then I sit in the chair, not on the couch. The confusion in her eyes is gradually turning into something that looks like fear, regret. I cannot quite put my finger on it, but it is definitely not the relief she seemed to feel that Tuesday night. Here is what is really messing with my head though. I am not even angry anymore. Like, the hurt is fading, and what is replacing it is this weird sense of freedom. For 3 years, I have been pouring all this emotional energy into someone who just admitted she doesn't actually love me back. And now that I have stopped, I feel lighter. I have started going to the gym more, picked up a woodworking class, been texting old friends I had lost touch with. Turns out, when you are not spending all your free time planning romantic gestures for someone who doesn't want them, you have a lot more time for yourself. But I keep wondering, am I being petty? Part of me feels like I am just protecting myself and giving her exactly what she said she wanted. But another part of me wonders if I am being too harsh. She clearly didn't expect this reaction, and honestly, watching her scramble to figure out what changed is both satisfying and a little heartbreaking. The thing is, I don't think I can go back to pretending I am in love with someone who explicitly told me she is not in love with me. That feels like emotional fraud, doesn't it? Like I would be lying to both of us. So Reddit, am I handling this right? Should I have fought for her, tried to win her love back? Or am I justified in taking her at her word and adjusting my behavior accordingly? Because I have a feeling this is just the beginning, and I am not sure where we go from here. Update 1. After reading your comments, I decided to lean even harder into the roommate dynamic. If Qley wanted the benefits of a relationship without actually being in love, she was going to learn what that really looked like. The weekend after my first post, she tried cooking my favorite meal, this elaborate Sunday dinner with all the fixings. She was clearly expecting the old Ethan response. Compliments, gratitude, maybe some romantic appreciation. Instead, I thanked her politely, ate my portion, and then, wait for it, sent her $15 through Venmo for my share of the groceries. There were moments like when she cooked that meal where I almost broke. Part of me wanted to pretend she never said it, wanted to go back to our comfortable routine. But then I would think, how can I go back to performing love for someone who just told me she doesn't feel it? You guys, the silence in that kitchen was deafening. She just stared at her phone screen like I would send her a bill for emotional damages, which, honestly, maybe I had. What is this? She finally asked. My half of dinner. Roommates split groceries evenly, right? She started laughing. But it was that weird, strained laugh people do when they are trying not to lose their shit. Ethan, those were groceries for us. You don't pay me back for cooking, but you are not my girlfriend, I said. And I kept my voice super calm and reasonable. You told me you are not in love with me, so why would I expect you to cook for me any more than I would expect my buddy Jake to cook for me? The laugh died immediately. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then just left. Went to her room and didn't come out for hours. But here is where it gets really good the next morning. She tried a different approach. Started texting me constantly throughout the day. And I mean constantly. What do you want for dinner? How was your meeting? This meme reminded me of you. Why are you being like this? Can we talk when you get home? 15 texts. I counted them. I responded to the practical ones like I will grab dinner out. Thanks, and ignored the emotional fishing. When I got home, she was waiting with this whole speech prepared about how relationships evolve and we are going through a rough patch and she wants to work on things. I let her finish, and then I said, Qley, you told me you are not in love with me. I believed you. I am just respecting what you told me. But I didn't mean what didn't you mean? The part where you are not in love with me, or the part where you want to keep living together anyway? She couldn't answer that. Then she got frustrated and sent me those exact words in a text during our argument. I like you, but I am not in love with you. That is just how I feel right now. I screenshot that immediately seemed like something I might need later. Now here is where I probably went full petty. But after reading your comments about not being a doormat, I sent her an itemized Venmo request for 3 months' worth of boyfriend expenses from our most expensive recent period. Dinners where I paid $847. Concert tickets for 2 shows, $340. Weekend trip to Aspen, $1,200. Flowers, 12 weeks, times $25, $300. Her car repair that I covered, $450. Gas money for her car, $180. Total, $3,317. The message just said, hey, settling up on some shared expenses now that we are roommates. Thanks, you guys. You guys, she exploded, called me immediately, screaming about how those were gifts. And that is what boyfriends do, and I was being manipulative and cruel. The irony was completely lost on her. Those were gifts from your boyfriend, I said. But you told me you don't want a boyfriend, you want a roommate who you happen to like. Roommates don't buy each other flowers and cover major expenses. You are twisting my words, am I? Because I am pretty sure I am not in love with you, is fairly unambiguous. She hung up on me. Then she called back 10 minutes later, crying, asking if we could reset and have a real conversation about our relationship. I told her I was open to conversations between roommates about household boundaries and shared expenses, but I wasn't interested in relationship talks with someone who isn't in love with me. The crying got louder. Honestly, watching her realize that actions have consequences is, I don't want to say satisfying, because there is still a part of me that cares about her. But it is definitely clarifying. For 3 years, I was bending over backward for someone who was apparently just tolerating my love because it came with perks. Now she is facing the reality of what she actually asked for, and suddenly she wants to renegotiate the terms. But here is the thing. I don't think I can unfeel this knowledge. Even if she suddenly decided she was madly in love with me tomorrow, how could I trust that? How could I believe it wasn't just panic because the gravy train stopped? Your comments helped me realize that someone who loves you doesn't need to test whether they are in love with you. They just know. And someone who truly loves you doesn't make you feel like you are auditioning for affection. You are already giving freely. I have been sleeping better than I have in months. Gym routine is solid. Signed up for that woodworking class I mentioned. Even had coffee with my college buddy Marcus yesterday, first time we had hung out in over a year because I had been so focused on being the perfect boyfriend. It is weird how much mental energy gets freed up when you stop trying to earn love from someone who already told you they don't have it to give. But I have a feeling Qley isn't done yet. She has been making these pointed comments about people who give up on relationships, and asking if I think love is really that simple. Plus, her best friend Morgan has been liking all her social media posts, but none of mine lately, which usually means Qley's been filling her ears with her version of events. I think the friend intervention is coming next. Should be interesting. Stay tuned. Reddit. Something tells me this story is far from over. Update 2 guys. I cannot even begin to describe the circus this has become. You thought the Venmo request was dramatic. That was just the opening act. So remember how I predicted the friend intervention? Yeah, that happened. But it went so much worse for Qley than she planned. 2 weeks ago, her best friend Morgan suddenly showed up for dinner. Not invited by me. Obviously Qley had clearly called in reinforcements. Morgan brought wine and this fake bright energy, like she was trying to host an intervention on a reality show. The whole evening was so transparently orchestrated. Morgan kept steering the conversation toward relationships, making comments about how relationships take work, and sometimes love isn't about big feelings. It is about choosing each other every day. Very deep. Morgan, very original. Finally, she just went for it. Ethan, I think you are being really unfair to Qley. She was just being honest about where she is at emotionally. Relationships evolve, and she is trying to figure things out. Punishing her for honesty isn't exactly mature. I put down my fork and looked at her. Morgan, can I ask you something? Would you want your boyfriend to keep acting like he is madly in love with you after you told him you weren't in love with him? Silence. Like, you could hear the AC unit humming. Would you want him to keep buying you flowers and planning romantic trips and paying for everything, while secretly knowing you don't love him back? Doesn't that feel manipulative? More silence. Qley was staring at her plate, like it held the secrets of the universe. Because that is what you are asking me to do. You want me to keep performing boyfriend behaviors for someone who explicitly told me she doesn't want a boyfriend's love. Morgan tried to recover with, but that is not what she meant then. What did she mean? Because I am not in love with you seems pretty clear to me. Morgan was quiet for a long moment, looking between me and Qley. You could see the wheels turning. She wasn't stupid, she could see the logic gap in what she was asking me to do. The dinner ended awkwardly. But here is the kicker: Morgan didn't text me that night like I expected. Instead, she reached out the next day with a much more thoughtful message. Quote, I have been thinking about our conversation. You deserve better than what Qley's offering you. Don't let her twist this into you being the bad guy. End quote. Apparently having a front row seat to the manipulation made it obvious even to her best friend. But wait, it gets better. Last week, Qley made the brilliant decision to take this public. Posted on Facebook about how living with someone who doesn't care about your feelings is exhausting, and how some people give up at the first sign of trouble. The comments started exactly how she wanted: lots of sympathy. Lots of you deserve better. Girl responses for about 6 hours. Then people started asking questions. What happened? Did he cheat? Are you guys breaking up? Instead of answering directly, Qley kept posting these vague quotes about emotional manipulation and people who punish honesty. You know, the type, those Instagram wisdom card things that make no sense without context. Well, I didn't comment publicly, but when 3 different friends reached out privately asking what was going on, I told them the truth. Showed them screenshots of her confession, including that text she sent me during our argument, the Venmo receipts, the itemized expenses. Let the facts speak for themselves. Word traveled gradually over the next few days. By the weekend, her Facebook post had been quietly deleted, and she was getting very different types of messages from people who had heard the full story. But the real nuclear moment happened this past weekend. Qley's parents drove up from Colorado Springs for what was obviously a planned intervention. Her dad's this old school guy who usually stays out of relationship drama, and her mom has always been sweet to me. I figured I was about to get lectured about commitment and working through rough patches. Wrong again. Qley started the conversation by painting me as emotionally abusive, said I was withholding affection as punishment and financially manipulating her, that I had changed overnight and become cold and calculating. I just sat there and listened. When she finished, I pulled out my phone. Her dad looked confused at first, but relationships take work, Ethan. Sometimes people say things they don't mean when they are scared. That is when I showed them the text where she said it and the follow-up where she doubled down. Then the bank statements showing the $3,000 in boyfriend expenses I had covered in the last 3 months, while apparently dating someone who doesn't actually want to date me. Qley told you she doesn't love you? Her mom asked, reading the text. She said she likes me but isn't in love with me, and that she wanted to keep living together because we are a great team. Her mother's expression slowly changed as she realized the scope of what I had been covering while dating someone who would explicitly said she didn't love me back. Her dad was quiet for a long moment, then looked at his daughter. Honey, you cannot tell a man you don't love him and then get upset when he believes you. I showed them the expense breakdown, the timeline of everything, explained how I would simply started treating her like the roommate she said she wanted to be. Her mom asked the question that broke everything. Sweetheart, what exactly did you expect him to do with that information? Qley couldn't answer. Started crying about how I should have fought for her and proven my love. That is when her dad got serious. You wanted him to chase you after you told him you don't love him back? That is not how healthy relationships work. Qley, the visit ended with her parents looking pretty troubled by their daughter's behavior. Her mother pulled me aside privately and said, quote, "You seem like a good man, Ethan. You deserve someone who knows they love you," end quote. That was 5 days ago. Since then, Qley has been different, quieter. She keeps starting conversations and then stopping mid-sentence. Watches me like she is trying to solve an equation. Yesterday, she asked if we could start over and pretend the whole conversation never happened. I told her I don't think that is possible. You cannot unknown something like that. But here is what is really weird. I am not angry anymore. I am just done. Like, emotionally done. The idea of going back to performing love for someone who doesn't feel it sounds exhausting now. I think I have outgrown this relationship entirely. The lease is up in 2 months, and I have already started looking at 1-bedroom apartments. I think it is time to stop living like roommates and actually become roommates who live in different places. But something tells me Qley has one more card to play. She has been too quiet lately, and that usually means she is planning something. Update 3 last week. Qley finally played her last card, and it was a doozy. She had been acting weird since her parents' visit, quiet, almost submissive, which was completely unlike her. I should have known she was plotting something. Last Tuesday night, she sits me down with this whole tearful confession. Says she needs to tell me the truth about everything. Ethan, I need you to know what I said that night about not being in love with you. It wasn't real. I just stared at her. What do you mean, it wasn't real? It was a test. She is crying now, full waterworks. I was scared about how comfortable we had gotten, and I wanted to see if you would fight for me. I wanted to know if you really loved me, if you would prove it when I pushed you away. Guys, she was testing me for weeks. She put us both through this psychological torture experiment because she wanted to see if I had fight for her. I thought you would chase me, she continued. I thought you would tell me I was wrong, that you would show me how much you loved me. Instead, you just gave up. The audacity, the sheer, breathtaking audacity. So you lied to me for 3 months to test my devotion? It wasn't supposed to go this far. You were supposed to fight back. I was so calm it scared me. Qley, you told me you didn't love me. I believed you. That is not giving up, that is respecting your words. But you should have known I didn't mean it. How should I have known you were lying to manipulate me into performing for your entertainment? She had no answer for that. I told her I needed time to think, and she brightened up like she thought this meant I was considering taking her back. Poor Qley still didn't understand what she would actually done, because here is what she had revealed for our entire relationship. I had been dating someone who thought love was a game, someone who would lie about her feelings to test mine, someone who thought emotional manipulation was an acceptable way to get reassurance. What if we had gotten married and she had wanted to test my commitment then? What if we had had kids and she had decided to test whether I had still love her after she gained baby weight? I realized I had been in love with a person who didn't actually exist. The Qley I thought I knew would never have played mind games with something as important as love. The real Qley, apparently, thought relationships were psychological experiments. So I made my decision. The next morning, I told her I was moving out, that the test had actually worked perfectly. It showed me exactly who she really was, and I didn't want to be with that person. But I love you, she screamed. I am in love with you. I was just scared. How can I believe that? How can I ever believe anything you tell me about your feelings again? She couldn't answer that either. But here is where the story gets really good. Remember Morgan, her best friend who had started messaging me after that dinner? Well, yesterday she called me with some information that made everything click into place. Turns out, 2 weeks before Qley's original confession, she had been bragging to Morgan about her plan, said she would read some article about how men need to feel like they are winning their partner, and she wanted to make me work for it again. Morgan had tried to talk her out of it, told her it was a terrible idea, but Qley was convinced it would reignite the passion in our relationship. The whole thing was calculated, premeditated. She had planned to mess with my head because she was bored and wanted drama. Morgan felt awful for not warning me earlier, but she had thought Qley would come clean after a few days when she saw how badly I was reacting. Instead, Qley just kept doubling down, getting deeper into her own lie, until she had created this whole alternate reality, where I was the bad guy for believing her words. So that is it. That is the whole story. I am moved into my own place now, a nice one-bedroom downtown with a view of the mountains. Qley had to move back in with her parents because she couldn't afford the apartment on her own. Funny how that works when you have been relying on someone else to subsidize your lifestyle. Her social media has gone quiet. I heard through mutual friends that she has been telling people I couldn't handle a strong woman who challenged me. The revisionist history is almost impressive, but here is the thing. I have never been happier. Turns out, when you are not constantly trying to prove your worth to someone who is actively testing you, you have a lot more energy for actually living your life. I am back in touch with friends I had neglected. I am crushing it at the gym. And that woodworking class, I built a coffee table that looks like it came from West Elm. More importantly, I have learned to trust my instincts about people. When someone tells you who they are, whether it is, I don't love you, or I test people's love by lying to them, believe them the first time.